All of the recent beta information that's come as a result of the Nintendo leak, as well as an email from a fan, got me thinking what could possibly be left in Castlevania 64. Lo and behold, I actually found an unused message hidden in the game which shines a bit more light on the game's difficulty settings. Here's how I found it. Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness use the difficulty to determine what to put inside candles when you break them. Harder difficulties will give less useful items, and easier difficulties will give more useful items. If you manage to play the game without selecting a difficulty, which you can do by screwing around with the game demo, you'll find that the game drops items from all three difficulties at one time. This got me to thinking. In CV64, if you play on the easy difficulty, the game unceremoniously ends when you ride the elevator up on Castle Center, stopping you from going to the character's specific stages and the final fight with Dracula. Knowing how the game's difficulty affects item drops, I wondered if the later levels had drop data for easy mode, and they actually do. All the candles drop the correct items, and you'll find more meat and power-ups in certain candles than you would in the harder modes. How did I do this, you ask? Do you remember Punk's level select code that I covered many moons ago? I use it to start a game file on easy, and then jump to one of the game's final levels. The real interesting stuff, though, starts when I begin the last level. Normally, if you take too many in-game days to reach the last level, you'll have to fight Charlie Benson, who beat you to the keep and was turned into a vampire. This locks you into the bad ending because he can't carry out a function vital to the game's true ending. If you're on the easy mode, however, the game will always force you to encounter Charlie here and fight him, regardless of how many or how few days you took to reach the last level. This, of course, locks you into the game's bad ending, which I know, sad day, but wait, look what the game says at the end of the credits. One adventure is over, but the truth remains in darkness. Clear normal to discover the truth. To my knowledge, there is no way to make this message play during the normal gameplay because you cannot beat the game on easy mode without hacking in the final version. This, of course, means that instead of ending the game at Castle Center on easy mode, originally the devs must have intended to lock you into the bad ending as a way of enticing players to play on normal mode. Given the amount of padding in the final game, this isn't surprising that they'd make players want to feel like they got more playtime out of what was at the time a full $60 game. Honestly, I like this system better than the final game. If you went all the way through to Castle Center only for the game to give you the middle finger and tell you to start over, would you really want to start from the beginning again on a harder difficulty? Anyway, here's something else cool that's already on YouTube, but not a lot of people know about, so I thought I'd cover it here. There are Gameshark codes out there that let you change the character you're currently playing as. You can use these codes that work by modifying the character played address in memory to save the game and reload it, to have your Carrie file be a Reinhardt file and vice versa. In Castlevania 64, however, there are two more character values that lie unused in the game's memory. If you remember, the game was originally supposed to have 4 playable characters: Reinhardt, Carrie, Cornel, and Coller. By modifying the character played value to their old numbers and entering the menu, we can actually see the old menu name graphics for Cornel and Coller still in the menu. Entering these codes will screw around with your character's jump animations, and when playing as Cornel, the game plays the wrong sounds every time you try to move. Shoutouts to YouTuber EXcentriX for bringing this to my attention. You can check out his video with a link below. I did a lot more testing with these codes, doing things like making a save file, setting it to Cornel and Coller, checking the menu with a game saved as them, loading multiple levels, and unfortunately all it seems to do is crash the game because it isn't really sure what to load for these characters. Level progression and game exits in CV64 are heavily tied to what character you're playing as, so it makes sense that this would gunk things up. Unfortunately, it means that if there's any more to be found with this, it will take someone who's a more skilled hacker than I am. Vanilla CV64 was obviously rushed, so my guess is that other than these placeholder graphics, very little work was ever actually done on Cornel and Coller. While Coller's gunplay got worked into Henry and LOD, Cornel came back, however using an energy wave instead of the martial arts he would have used in the earlier versions. You can see some of his old martial arts moves and their animations if you check out the werewolf in the Forest of Silence level. It uses his old werewolf model. My guess is that each of the 4 character-specific towers were originally meant for each protagonist. Carrie would have still gone to Tower of Sorcery, and Reinhardt Tower of Execution, which has whip swing points in it, by the way, they're just unusable. But Coller and Cornel would have gone to the Tower of Science and Dual Tower, respectively. Coller to the Tower of Science since he's a Frankenstein monster, and Cornel would have gone to Dual Tower because he was supposed to be a brawler, so it just makes sense. for him to fight other monsters in cages, considering he's a werewolf especially. Anyway, this went on longer than intended, but tell me what you think happened to Cornel and Coller below. Also, the codes that I use will be below, so if you want to take your own chance at finding something, you can. Thanks all, and have a Ronaldo soccer day.